people, welcome back to my channel. My name is Megan. In today's video, we're going to be doing my November TBR. These are all the books I plan to read in the month of November. We shall see if that happens. I have quite a few books. I have almost 20 books on my TBR, which might seem like excessive, but I generally read about 15 to 20 books every month, so it's not really that excessive. So let's get into them because I have lots of great options to go through. I have them all stacked into piles. I have my little paperback pile and hardback pile because that's just how it goes. Let's start with my paperback pile, and then I have books that are on my Libby TBR that are either the holds are coming in or I already have checked out, so we'll go through all of it. First, let's go into this first pile. We have Irresistible, The Rise of Addictive Technology in the Business of Keeping Us Hooked by Adam Alter. I recently thrifted this book like 2 days ago and I am so fascinated by this subject. I just know I have to read it in November, and my library has the audiobook for it, so I know this is going to be one to easily get read. So this book, you're really just learning, I mean, I think the title kind of describes it all, learning about how like technology and these social media companies have trained us to be addicted to these devices, to their apps, and just kind of the consequences of that. And I'm just very excited to learn more on the subject because I feel it's like something we all know, like we all know we're addicted to social media, we all know we're addicted to their phones, but I just want to like kind of read what someone who's actually researched the topic has to say about it. So I'm very excited to read this book. Which, you know, it goes in well, Nonfiction November. So there we go. There's my one nonfiction book for Nonfiction November. Next book on my TBR is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Manandana. So this book says a warm and witchy hug of a book. Oh my god, too cute. This was on my October TBR, but my library didn't have the audiobook for it, so it's one I have to physically read. And November, my goal is really to get back into physically reading books in addition to my audiobooks, because in October I read 18 books. Only one of them I finished physically. Like I'm just not reading physical books anymore, and I really need to do that. So yeah, this one is on my TBR. I'm trying to get back into physically reading, and I think this is the first one I'll be picking up. So there's that. The next book on my TBR is A Twisted Love by Anna Huang. So this is the first book in the Twisted series. So from reading the back, it just seems to be a brother's best friend romance, you know what I mean? Like girl falls in love with her brother's best friend, and I'm just really excited to see what it's about. I mean, I feel like the back of the book doesn't tell you much. I feel like this book is like one you're just gonna go in blind. I honestly bought this not even reading the back. I don't even know the characters' names. I just know it's super hyped up on TikTok. I see all my favorite booktubers reading it, so like I have to read it. So yeah, if I like it, we'll continue on with the series. And I know Anna Huang just came out with a new book as well. So is that on my TBR? Maybe it's on Kindle Unlimited. It'd be very easy to read. So maybe that one as well. Who knows? We'll see what actually gets read by the end of this month. The next book on my TBR is Rebel Belle by Rachel Hawkins. I recently thrifted this book. I know I just did like a thrift haul of all the books I read. And like since that video, I've already bought like 6 books at the thrift store. This was one of them. Rebel Belle by Rachel Hawkins. I have no idea what this book is about. It seems to be like some sort of like YA. Is it like a fantasy book? YA fantasy something? I don't know. I know it's young adult, but it's Rachel Hawkins. I have to read it. I love The Wife Upstairs, love Reckless Girls, love The Kiss Curse. The X not a fan of, but like, you know, that's like, she already has 3 out of 4. Like, that's pretty good. So the 4 books I read by her, liked 3 of them. So I want to continue on reading her books. Found it at the thrift store. I'm not going to pass it up. So here we go. Rebel Belle by Rachel Hawkins. Next 2 books I plan on reading this month is It Ends With Us and It Starts With Us, both by Colleen Hoover. So yeah, I bought this book a while ago, never read it. Then I bought the sequel, so now I have to read them both. So these are on my plans for this month. These ones, like the library, the audiobook holds, are just way too long. So these ones, when I'm trying to start physically reading this month, and these are the ones I have to start with. Although I still haven't started the witch one, but I feel like I actually have to start with these ones because they're so hyped up. I have to do it. So we have those 2 books. And then I have In a Holidays by Christina Lauren, which I think this is like a 2020 book at this point. But yes, here we go. Holiday book. So this book is a Christmas romance with a time loop, and that's all I know about it, and it sounds like a really fun time, and I love Christmas romances, so I have 2 of them in this TBR because I know I'll be reading so many in December, but I gotta start now. I mean, I already read one in October, so we gotta continue the trend in November. So we have this one. I've never read anything by Christina Lauren. I know she's a very popular like romance author, so I'm excited to see kind of what her writing style is about and see what the hype is about with her, and also Christmas holiday romance. There you go. Next book on my TBR is The Holiday Swap by Maggie Knox. I bought this last year, didn't read it. But then I bought Maggie Knox's new release, All I Want for Christmas, so hopefully she's good because I bought her last 2 new releases without actually reading them. But in this book, I actually read the first, like, 30 pages, 50 pages of this book. So I can't say I completely didn't read it. I read a little bit, and then I just never finished it before December was over, and then I was like, yeah, I don't really care. It's a holiday romance. Holidays are over, but now it's time to read it. Because it's been a year though, I don't even really remember what happened, so I'm like okay with that. So you're following these twins, and one of them's like a baker on a reality show or something, I don't know, and one of them's a baker, they're twins, but they switch places, and they both fall in love with like cute guys, so they're, what more can you want? This is literally a Hallmark movie. I'm pretty sure I watched a Hallmark movie exactly like this. Twins switched places and they both fell in love with guys in their life. So, like, I'm excited to read that. Now I'm moving into my hardcover pile. First, we have Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. I got this from Book of the Month. I don't really know what it's about, but I do know my Libby Holt's coming in. And I remember, I think it's like a murder mystery, kind of like a magical realism murder mystery. I could be completely wrong on that, but I'm kind of thinking that's about, or it's like a fantasy murder mystery. Adrienne Young, I know she's the author of Fable, which is a YA, like, kind of fantasy book. I know that's one that's been on my radar, been on my TBR. I never got around to reading it. So when her new release was on Book of the Month, I was very excited to pick it up, and hopefully it'll get read in November. Next book, we have Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong. I am so excited to read this book, and I love when they did the Book of the Month edition that they didn't put the logo on the side. That way, if Book of the Month doesn't carry the sequel and I get the sequel, it'll probably, you know, match, hopefully. So yes, we have Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong, and I'm not really sure what this book is about either. I really picked up this book just based on the author because everybody loves these violent delights. I never got into that duology, so when she was coming out with her new release, and again, it was a Book of the Month selection, I decided to pick it up. And yeah, my Libby hold just came through like before filming this video, so I will definitely be listening to this book very soon. The next book on my TBR is The Guilt Trip by Sandy Jones. I read so many mystery thrillers in October. I feel like I should be sick of them, but all I want is more of them. And this book I thrifted a couple months ago. I finally have to read it. This book, you're following 3 couples and they go on some retreat, and one of the couples is I don't know their names, but the guy is part of the friend group and he's had a really hard past, and then the girl is like his new girlfriend, so everyone's trying to get to know her. And then in the synopsis it says they find out a shocking secret about her and things unravel, and it says they went away as friends, they came back as suspects. I love that. That sounds so much fun. Honestly, this gives me the vibes of The Guest List by Lucy Foley, which I really liked that book, so I'm very excited to read this one, and it seems to be a pretty short mystery thriller as well, so we shall see. Again, I'm really in a mystery thriller mood, so yeah, I'm really hoping to read this one. The next book on my TBR for this month is an Unwanted Guest by Sherry Lapina. Again, I needed a mystery thriller book. So this is like a wintry mystery thriller, so it's about these people staying at a mountain lodge, and then there's a really bad snowstorm, and then I think the power goes out, and they're just like kind of cut off from the outside world. A dead body appears, and it just sounds like a fun time. Sounds like a premise of mystery thriller books I've already read, but that I've enjoyed. So I'm very excited to read this book. It's like, again, it's mystery thriller, but it's perfect for the season. And again, I'm just in a mystery thriller mood. So here we go. An Unwanted Guest by Sherry Lapina. I read one book by her before, Not a Happy Family, which I rated 3 stars. I enjoyed my time reading it. I thought it was very forgettable though. So hopefully this book is a little better, like a little more interesting, a little more memorable. So we'll see. The next book on my TBR is Greenwich Park by Catherine Faulkner. This is a domestic thriller. I love domestic thrillers, especially those white picket fence HOA neighborhoods, gossiping moms. I love that. I think those books are so much fun to read. I don't really know what this particular one is about, but I don't need to know. A domestic thriller, I know it has the elements that I like about a book, so I don't even need to know more than that, because I feel like with mystery thrillers, it's always best to go in pretty blind. So very excited to read this book, and honestly, I kind of love the cover of this, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie, I like the cover. And then the last physical book I have on my TBR, and then I'm gonna go over books that I don't own that are on my TBR. My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. So this book I feel like is really popular. A lot of people have read it. I know this is a really dark book, but it's one I'm like really interested in reading. So this book, you're following our main character Vanessa, and she entered into a relationship when she was 15 with a man who is like, I don't know, in his 40s. And it's about her as an adult, like reflecting back on that relationship, because during the time when she was in that relationship, she seemed happy, she seemed fine with it. And as she gets older, she realized how being in that relationship wasn't okay, and that guy was very manipulative and abusive and all these different things. So I'm very excited to read this book and kind of get like her perspective on it, and just like I don't know, I'm just interested in this book. Honestly, it just sounds like an episode of Law & Order SVU, and I love Law & Order SVUs. Now we're gonna go over the books on my TBR that I don't physically own. These are books that I plan on listening to through Libby, which is a library audio app. So what I currently have checked out right now is Blackmail and Bibinka by Mia P. Manansala, this is just a continuation of the Tita Rosie's Kitchen Mystery, Cozy Mystery series. So the first one was Arsenic and Adobo, then you had Homicide and Hollow Hollow, and now you have this book, Blackmail and Bibinka. I think I'm pronouncing that right. So this book, I don't even know what the synopsis is. I didn't even read it. I just saw that my library had it available. I was like, place hold. My hold was available. I'm going to listen to it. And I don't need to know what it's about because I know I like the characters. I love the narrator for the audiobooks, and they're just like a really fun, cozy mystery time. Obviously, every time I read these books, like I have the same like review of Arsenic and Adobo as I did Homicide and Hollow Hollow. Like anytime you read these books, like you're gonna be hungry because the author obviously knows knows about food, okay? And she writes very descriptive, yummy food and just makes you hungry reading these books. But yeah, I'm very excited to listen to this book. I currently have it checked out on Libby. The next book I currently have checked out on Libby is actually, I don't know why I didn't pull this earlier because I do own the physical edition, and that is The Girl from Widow Hills by Megan Miranda. I said in my book haul that it was going to take me a year to read this book because my library didn't have the audiobook for it, but I went on my library's website and requested them to get the audiobook, and they did. So now I have it and now I can listen to it. I'm very excited. This is another just like domestic thriller. I have no idea what it's about. Domestic thrillers. I don't need to know much. I like them. And also I've heard a lot of great things about Megan Miranda. One of the booktubers I really like. I feel like she's very picky when it comes to mystery thrillers, but she recommends Megan Miranda. So if this picky girl likes it, I'm gonna like it. So there we go. The next books on this TBR are books that I have on hold on Libby, and I think the holds are gonna come through in November. So hence they're on my November TBR. The first one is My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing. And honestly, I didn't read the synopsis of this book. I don't really know what it's about, but I watched Katie Coulson, who is like one of my favorite booktubers, and just because like the way she describes books just makes you want to read it. Even if she has a bad review of the book, just like the way she describes it, it's like, oh, and like now I have to read it. Like I need to be in on it. And she talked about this book, My Lovely Wife, and she basically said it's about a couple that kills people, like a serial killer couple, which yes, up my alley. I love that shit. Like for a mystery thriller, like to me that's like such an interesting dynamic. I love serial killer mystery thrillers, so I'm very excited to read this book. Again, that's all I know about it. So there we go. Going in blind. Can't wait to read it. The next book on my Libby holds that should be coming through, this one it says is 2 weeks away, is The Atlas Paradox by Olivia Blake, which is a sequel to The Atlas 6. And I really enjoyed reading The Atlas 6. I had a really fun time doing it. It's perfect to read this book in November because it has those dark academia vibes and feels to it. And we're still in fall. It's the best time to read dark academia books. And after the ending of The Atlas 6, like that cliffhanger, what happened at the end, I need to read this. I need to know what happens next. And I am very excited to read this book. I do want to get my hands on a physical edition of it. I just haven't been to Barnes & Noble yet, but wow. So excited to read this book. The next book on my TBR, this one says it's 4 weeks away, but you know what I mean? Like people return early. It could possibly come in November. And that is The Bullet That Missed by Richard Osman. This is the third book in the Thursday Murder Club series. I don't even know what this book is about. Haven't read the synopsis for it either, but I love the Thursday Murder Club. Once I like an author and once I like a series, like when it comes to like these things, like the Tita Rosie's Kitchen Mystery, like I don't need to know what the sequels are about. Like I just know I like the characters. I know I like the author's writing style and the mysteries that they've done in the past. So all I need to do is just sit back, relax, read it, and enjoy the ride. So I'm very excited to read this book. I'm so excited to connect with my favorite characters again. And yeah, I'm very, very excited. I'm not going to buy the physical edition of this book though, because the first two I own are paperbacks. This one just released very recently, so there's only hardcover editions out there. I'm gonna wait for it to go in paperback to buy it because I want all my editions to match. So like I don't mind waiting to get the paperback version then have them all match. So there we go. The Bullet That Missed by Richard Osman. The next book on my TBR is My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. This book, I don't really know what this book is about either. I don't really know what a lot of these books are about. But I do know I really enjoyed Grady Hendrix. In October, I read 2 of his books, The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires and Horror Store. Absolutely love both of them. I really just like want to read all his books. So here we go. This is the next one on my list. And I think this one is also like a Hulu show or something, or it's on Amazon Prime. I don't know. One of like the streaming networks did like a show or a movie based on this book. So I have to read it so then I can watch the movie, because Horror Store by Grady Hendrix, that would be like an amazing like limited series or mini movie. And the Southern Book Club's Guide to the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires would also be a great TV show. So like, he just writes these great dark comedy horrors that would just be great TV shows, and this one actually is. And then the last 3 books on my TBR are actually my November Book of the Month picks. Honestly, I was not impressed with the November Book of the Month picks. I just wasn't. They had 5 picks. I really only enjoyed one of the picks, and then the other, the add-ons, well, I actually did get an add-on, but the add-ons were just like, okay, I wasn't overly impressed with November, but that's just my opinion. If you were, I'm so happy for you, because September popped the fuck off. Okay, I was obsessed with September's Book of the Month like releases. October I enjoyed as well, but November I just like, I wasn't that impressed. I was a little disappointed, but that's okay because I still found a good book, and that is The Last Party by Claire McIntosh. So this book, you're following a group of people who are at a house party, and then a body appears, and so it's just like a murder mystery type of book. You guys know I love these types of mystery thrillers. We'll see how this one goes. It doesn't come out till November 8th, so I requested that my library buy the audiobook for it when it comes out, so we shall see if they buy the audiobook and if I end up reading it in November. And then the 2 books I chose as add-ons was Legendborn and Bloodmarked. So Legendborn was an Book of the Month pick like when it originally came out. Bloodmark is a sequel. It's coming out in November, and Book of the Month released it as an add-on, so I just got both of them. I don't know if it's going to be a duology or a full-blown series, but I do own the paperback edition of Legendborn. Never read it, but I do own it. And when I saw Bloodmark was an add-on, I was like, well, okay, let's just buy the Legendborn from Book of the Month too, so I have matching hardcover editions. And then I'll just like donate my paperback, and then someone at Goodwill could be like, holy shit, I found this book for $2, and they'll be happy, I'll be happy, we're all happy. Okay, so that is the end of my TBR. I have 2 books actually over here that I guess we could add on, but not really. So I have these 2 books. We have Before the Coffee Gets Cold. I need to finish the 2 short stories in it for this book to be done, which I do want to do because I hate when I have like my books on Goodreads and it's still showing this book and I just want to be done with it. I want to see it off my ship. And then we have Other Birds by Sarah Addison Allen, which I've been reading since September. Going into November, I've been reading it since September, and it's like a 300-page book, but I'm just so bored. It's hard for me to get through it, but it's really my goal to get through this so I can also just mark it off on my Goodreads. But anyway, that was all the books I plan to read in the month of November. I hope you guys enjoy it. This video, I hope you guys enjoyed some of these books. Maybe you found some books you never heard of before, and you're like, damn, I want to read those now too. If you did, let me know. Subscribe down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!